Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, to no one's real surprise, the CDC has extended the CSO, the Conditional Sale Order, previously known as the Framework for Sailing, and all, you know what I mean, all the restrictions that they've been in place and recommending to the cruise ships. Well, they're recommending now because they lost in court. It was mandatory before and now it's recommended. But it's not all bad news. It's not all bad news. In fact, there's some very good news this time in this extension. And at least we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. There's a couple good things. So first I'll start off with some of the bad things. First off, we still have a CSO. It's still in place. The cruise lines are still following it. And it's been extended from the 31st of October to January 15th. Now, what's different about this one is the fact that it is a temporary extension, where all the other ones were just extensions. Every extension so far has been an extension of the CSO, a continuation of the CSO. This one is a temporary extension of the CSO. Also one of the only ones that didn't go 3 months. It's less than 3 months. It's 2.5 months, but it's less than 3. And they say on that date that they will go from basically them overseeing everything and that to coming up with a voluntary program in which the cruise lines can opt into it or opt out of it. But they basically agree that there still needs to be some sort of oversight to make sure there isn't any widespread, they just drop everything and all of a sudden cases start rising everywhere and things like that. Now, in this conditional sale order, it's 53 pages, I believe, but the majority of it is just restating what they stated before with a few different things to basically justify the continuation and the extension, as well as to mention some of the things that they've changed in the wording and the guidelines and things like that. Now, one of the things that they said, you remember a while back, the CDC reached out to anyone interested in giving information on guidelines and everything for cruise ships during the pandemic and the COVID. They asked for volunteers. Send us all your information, everybody. Send us all your information. Well, apparently 75% of all the respondents were in the cruise ship industry, and they said, well, that's not a widespread. There's many more government agencies out there and port authorities that didn't respond at all. In other words, they weren't interested enough to respond to you. It wasn't that big a concern for them to bother to respond to your request. The ones who were mostly affected are the cruise ships, and they responded. So if they don't respond, it may be because they just want to get on with everything. They don't really care. Just open things up and let's start, right? That's kind of seems to be the guidelines that you're getting and from the non-answer, right? If you go up to people and you keep, well, you know what? What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? Tell us what you want for Christmas. I don't want, and that person doesn't tell you anything they want for Christmas. Maybe they just don't care. Surprise them. So yeah, I don't see their point when they're going into that part and that. But then they do go and they quote an awful lot of past cases, and they're trying to justify the reasoning for this extension. Now, before I get into that, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Really helps the channel. It'll help you keep up to date with all the cruise news stories, all the changing events that are happening, and all the things with the CSO, the no sale order, the framework for sailing, the CDC, the vaccine, you name it, we cover it here on the channel and try and keep you as up to date as possible. So some of these things they gave, I think, all the way up to cruise ship F. In other words, they didn't name the ship, they didn't name the cruise line, they didn't say where the cruise line was sailing from, they didn't say where the ship was sailing from, they didn't say the size of the ships. They just said ship A, ship B, ship C, ship D, and they gave like 7 examples. And some of the most severe outbreaks that they mentioned were back in June and July, which, as you might know if you follow the channel at all, we had a lot of protocols that weren't in effect. There was testing wasn't in effect like it is now. The masking policies weren't in effect like they were now. A lot of things weren't out there that are as ineffective, that are as effective as they are now. And they go on to say that this is there and this is there, and also proving to make sure that people are telling the truth at the ports is proving to be a difficulty. Where they quote this one person who tested negative 3 days before. Notice 3 days before, now it's 2 days, right? So that's changed even. 3 days before was symptomatic when they got on the ship, but lied and said they weren't, and then passed away 3 days later from COVID on the cruise ship. Okay, well, yeah, people are going to lie. People do lie. People lie every day. You know, people lie when they miss work and say they were sick and when they were staying home to watch the football game. People lie all the time. People are the most untrustworthy people in the world. When they want to get something, they will lie. It's a fact. Lawyers out there say the biggest liars they have are their clients. Never trust your own client. And that's basically because they will say whatever they think you need to hear in order to not get in trouble. And that's what people do when they get on cruise ships, which also goes to that saying of, you know what, you don't need to show proof of vaccination, you just need to ask people and they'll tell you. No, because people are going to lie. And let's be honest, that's exactly what will happen. I mean, people go out of their way to buy fake vaccine cards and things like that. So you don't think that they would lie? They didn't even have to do that. So they go on to say all these different things and all these different cases. But they don't tell us what ships, like I said. They don't tell us what cruise lines. They don't say where. They don't say what country. Are we assuming these are all American ships leaving out of American ports? Maybe, maybe not. But no, I would like to, if they keep quoting all these different studies and everything like this that are all in this form, but no, not once do they ever refer to the actual outbreak to show us what exactly happened on those ships. Even the case where they talked about the person who died, who lied, they said there were over 30 close contacts afterwards, but they don't say anything about, did any of them test positive? Did any of them end up in hospital? Did any of them do anything like that? But one of the most kind of ridiculous statements that I saw in their justification for extending the no-sail order was they said that since passengers have started, the number of medical evacuations and hospitalizations have risen. You think since the cruise ships were empty and then passengers started going on them, that evacuations and hospitalizations might have gone up during that time? Do you think? That's like saying, we were building this hospital and there were no sick patients. And then when we opened it, suddenly there were sick patients. Sick patients were on the rise almost 100% once we opened the hospital. That's amazing to me. You can word something to make it sound good or bad. You can come up with numbers to make it sound horrible or good. You can come up with anything you want depending on your own narrative. Politicians are great at doing that, and in this case, the CDC is trying to do that as well. But here is the good news. This is stated in this CSO that this is the last one. This is a temporary extension until January 15th. At that point, it will become a voluntary order. At that point, the cruise lines will be free of the CSO, and hopefully the majority of the CDC. Now, do I think they should just abandon everything out there completely when this happens? No. But between now and then, if the science proves and they show the differences on different things, like, for instance, celebrity, you don't have to wear a mask on some of the celebrity ships. I believe they're the only one right now you don't have to. Well, are there more cases on that celebrity ship than are on a Royal Caribbean ship, for example? Based on how many on each ship. Are there any more infections because we're wearing a mask and we're not wearing a mask? I would like to see those numbers. I would like to see the numbers difference between a Carnival ship or a Disney ship with more kids on it than, say, the celebrity ship that has no mask. Those are the numbers we should be looking at to see what restrictions are working and what restrictions aren't. Is the 2-day working any better than the 3-day testing? Is testing during the cruise any better than not testing during the cruise? Would it be better to be taking the temperatures of everybody getting on the ship? Not every cruise line is doing that. I've been on 3 now that haven't done that. So there are a lot of things that could be done that aren't done, that can't, have stopped being done, that maybe have helped. So those are the things we should be looking at. And I mean, it's easy to justify numbers. It's easy to justify numbers. You can look at it as good. You can look at it as bad. Here's an example. I can say to you, do you know what right now? The United States had over 100,000 cases of COVID a day. Look what's going on. I mean, the Delta variant is everywhere, everybody. And then I can say to you, hey, did you know that the COVID-19 is down to 66% of what it was last month? Down 33% in 1 month. That's really good, right? We're coming out of this. Do you see how you can use words and numbers to fit your narrative? And I think the CDC was doing that in this case, but at least we can see that light at the end of the tunnel, that this is temporary. Now let's hope they hold true to their word, and that on the 15th there is a very clear, precise system that the cruise lines just follow, and they don't have to face huge ramifications. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.